Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing shrimp ceviche with tostones. The first time I ever had ceviche was in Peru. I got to go the summer after my first year of college, and it is a trip that I'll never forget. And this flavor is a flavor that I'll never forget. So to start this dish, I have 3 bottles of a light beer that I'm just bringing up to a light simmer on the stove in a large saucepan. Once it comes up to a simmer, we're going to add in 1.5 pounds of shrimp. Now, I know most ceviches are not par-cooked, but we want to par-cook this just until they start to turn pink. The beer is going to add a different dimension of flavor to our final product. And again, I know most ceviches are just cooked solely in citrus, but I wanted to add layers of flavor to ours, so that's what we're doing here. Once they've just turned pink, we're going to take these out, pop them in a bowl, and set this aside to let it cool while we prep the rest of our ingredients. Now for our citrus, I have 1 large orange that we're just chopping off the ends and then cutting this in half and then using a juice press to get as much of that juice out as possible. The reason I chop off the ends is it actually allows more of the juice to come out when you squeeze your citrus. So just squeeze as much of that juice out into a large bowl. The orange is going to add a sweetness as well as a tartness to our ceviche. Up next, we have 10 limes, which seems like a lot, but you need a lot to cover all of our shrimp or whatever seafood you're using, because you could use a nice firm white fish in this. You could use squid. The flavors of the ceviche are up to you. So we're just doing the same thing, rolling, cutting off those little ends, cutting this in half. And we're going to juice this into the same bowl as our orange juice. Now once everything is juiced up, we're going to add 1/2 cup of ketchup. We are going for a more Ecuadorian style ceviche, and this ketchup is going to add not only a color to our marinade mix, it's also going to add its own sweetness as well as tanginess and tartness, kind of like the orange. But again, we're adding layers of flavor here. So just mix that up until that's all incorporated in. Now we have 1 large red onion that we're slicing very thinly and carefully, hopefully, on a mandolin. We want to put those slices into ice water to mellow out that sharp onion flavor. I realized I was working harder, not smarter, and decided to shave this directly over the bowl, which made a lot more sense and a lot less work. So we're going to let that sit in the ice water for 10 minutes just to mellow out that onion flavor. Now we're going to add our par-cooked shrimp into our citrus juices, wash our hands, and prep the rest of our ingredients. So I have 4 beautiful vine tomatoes here. We're just going to take off the top. We're going to have these, and we're going to take out all the seeds because we don't need them in our dish. Once everything is deseeded, we're going to chop these up into strips, and then we're going to dice them into a nice small dice. You could also leave this in strips. The appearance of your ceviche is completely up to you. But I've chosen to dice this, and once it's all diced up, we can just pop this in a bowl and set this aside. Next up, I have 1 red bell pepper. You could use green if you want to add more color, but we're just taking off the top and bottom, saving those to snack on while we prep all of our ceviche. And then we're just going to take out the core and all the seeds. And we're going to chop this into slices as well, and then into a nice even dice. And our peppers can go into the same bowl as our tomatoes. I have 1 serrano that I'm just cutting in half and chopping up. You can use jalapeno if that's what you have. You can take out the seeds and the ribs if you don't want that much heat in your ceviche. And that's going in the same bowl as our peppers and our tomatoes. Now I have 1 English cucumber. I'm just cutting in half because we don't need the whole cucumber in here. We're just going to half the cucumber and then quarter those half parts, and then just chop those up into a nice dice as well. Once all the vegetables have diced up and are prepped, we can add them to our shrimp and our citrus juices. After we've added all our veg, we've drained our red onion here. We're adding that as well, and we're going to mix this all together. The best mixing tools in my kitchen are my hands, as long as they're clean. So we just want to mix this all together and make sure everything is kind of dispersed in there and covered in our lime and orange juice. We're also going to need 1 bunch of cilantro that I'm going to use my favorite new kitchen tool, my mezzaluna here, besides my hands. And we're just going to chop this up really finely. And once it's all chopped up, we're going to add it to the rest of our ingredients. Now for last steps, we're going to add a tablespoon of olive oil, a teaspoon and a half of kosher salt, and 1 teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper. Give this a good mix, and we're going to cover this and pop it in the fridge for a minimum of 4 hours up to 24 hours. And that's going to let that citrus do its job and cook the shrimp all the way through, as well as flavor the rest of our ingredients and kind of break them down a little bit. Now, half an hour before you're ready to serve your ceviche, we're going to do some tostones here. So you have 2 green plantains, which you cannot peel like a banana. You have to they're a little tougher. So you chop off the bottom and top parts, run your knife down the peel of it, and just start pulling away that peel. These are unripened plantains, that's why they're green, but they're great for frying. So once we have those all peeled, we're going to take this and cut this on the bias. If you wanted to do chips instead of tostones, that would be perfectly fine. Just use a mandolin to cut them very thin and fry them. But I wanted to do something a little bit more substantial. So I have some oil and pan over the stove, and we're going to pan fry these just until they turn yellow, a brighter yellow, not a darker yellow. We don't want these to cook all the way through because we're going to double fry them. So once they get a nice bright yellow, we're going to take them out of the pan onto a paper towel lined baking sheet, and we're going to take a glass or a bowl and just start crushing it because you want little scraggly ends. You want this to flatten out. In the meantime, we're going to bring our oil up to 350. Before it was at 325. So we're raising the heat of our oil when we go in for the second fry. Once everything is nicely smashed up, we're going to cook these for about 2 minutes. These cook very, very quickly. So just pop these all into the oil and let them fry until they're nice and golden brown. Once they're golden brown, we're going to fish these out, pop them on the same paper towels, and we're going to immediately hit this with salt. You want to do it while it's still hot, because a little bit of the salt is going to melt and absorb into the tostones, and the rest is going to stick to them. If you try to salt them while they're cold, the salt's just going to fall off, and it's going to defeat the purpose. Now I've taken our ceviche out of the refrigerator, and we're going to garnish this with an avocado. And you have to love when an avocado is perfectly ripe. So I've just diced this in the shell of the avocado, and now I'm just using a spoon to get all those lovely little dices of avocado out. We're just gonna sprinkle that all over the top of our ceviche. This just imparts another texture and adds a beautiful color. Also garnished with a little bit more cilantro. And our tostones look really great. So let's give this a taste. The shrimp has absorbed all of that gorgeous orange lime ketchup marinade. and it's super firm. The flavor runs throughout the shrimp, and you get the crunch from the bell pepper and the cucumbers and the freshness from the tomato. The tostones are perfectly crisp and a great vehicle to shove as much of the ceviche into your mouth as possible. And this would be perfect as a main meal, as an appetizer, and this is something I really hope you guys try to make. But there it is, shrimp ceviche with tostones. I really hope you guys try to make this dish. It is absolutely delightful. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a like. If you loved it, subscribe and hit that notification bell because I put out new videos every Thursday. Until next time, happy cooking.
Every single time I get the wrong size bowl, it never fails.